Well, okay, Marshall, what then is the ideal as opposed to perhaps what is? Well, the ideal is in heaven, and the circumstances are understood to be different there, neither male nor female. But are as the angels of God in heaven, as it's put in the Jesus story. That's how we are in heaven. Do you mean then a vow of celibacy? Well, not a vow from the Jesus story point of view, because Jesus says, vow not at all, but let your yea be yea and your nay, nay. For what is more than this cometh of evil. So we don't make vows according to that, if we're following it. But there is something of, well, let me probably say it slightly wrongly, but having a shot at it, the more spiritual you are, the more concerned you are about others and all, and the less you are well, the less you're willing to put yourself in a position where you can't care for the poor and the destitute and in numbers, rather than simply well, let me emotively say it, doting on one partner. Of course, if you care for all the poor and those in need, and equally with yourself, there's probably a recipe for a very short life. Because the poorest of the poor are usually fairly significant in number and don't last very long. With the marginally poor, it's a bit different. But you will be in a position where you're exhausting your resources, spreading them so thinly, to be optimal, I suppose, in some sense, that you're not rescuing anyone from their dilemma and difficulties and problems. I fall back on the principle we're not here to change this world. This world's doing very well. It's presenting good and evil that we may learn and graduate to the perfect world, if you like, heaven, perfect kingdom. But we're not here to change the world. We're here to learn in it. Ideally with the minimum of suffering and distress to ourselves and to others, of course. So, holy orders, well, you know, in the sense of the monastery and the religion and that sort of thing, vows of abstinence and celibacy might seem to be the order of the day, except that the order itself tends to be of an organisation that by its very nature becomes worldly very quickly and corrupted. It's very hard for it not to be corrupted. It's almost by definition a world organisation, that all organisations have a priority of putting themselves, their survival, first. and the principles and goals of the organisation, other than that, are second. Hence, the appalling record of religion down the ages. Not just in Christianity, of course. So, not at all clear holy order would be the answer. I mean, I'm not even sure celibacy is the answer. I mean, I've gone for long periods in my life, when one's partner was not very loving, and one didn't want to choose to be unfaithful with someone else, goodness, because that would, bring about calamity and catastrophe. And you always hope things might get better and improve, I mean, the marriage relationship anyway. And it's certainly feasible, or at least, it can be feasible for some people. With a certain level of concern to achieve such. I don't know as I can declare that it's even feasible for all, especially if you're not too nobly motivated anyway. I think it's those that have ears to hear, let them hear. I mean, and that's what we have virtually in the Jesus story. I mean, he presents in the story as a single and celibate individual whose concern and motivation was to rescue man, not have a family and children. There's still some impression in our mind that perhaps this gives you the edge in being spiritual and kind and loving and a blessing to the wider community, rather more. If you follow such written example. I remember when young, young as a Christian, I was, late 20s, and I was married by then, and come across one or two really earnest young Christian men who decided that they would not get married. They wanted to put Jesus first. Whether they succeeded in whether they held to that through the years to come, well, I don't know. Didn't know them long enough, but I suspect some do. And perhaps, as of course the world might say, well, perhaps some do because they're not very strongly inclined to make love and have a partner and have children, and they're just not anyway. It wasn't a great temptation to them. I wasn't convinced that was the reason. I thought the reason was, as they presented it, they wanted to put God first. And they actually saw this as part of their mission. And I was impressed. I wasn't following it, but I was impressed. And you could argue now, well, old and long in the tooth. Actually, I'm not long in the tooth. I've lost them all. Had them all taken out. My dentures are much, much nicer. And not that I'm criticising God's handiwork, don't get me wrong. As it may be that now I'm older, it's much easier to be as inclined, not to fuss so much with a partnership. family, so on. Or having more children anyway, put it that way. But I'm not sure. You see, the world's got it wrong. I mean, the great blessing of having a partner, having a partner, is that you've got someone to love and care for who loves and cares for you. Not that you're making love all the time, but that you've always got a friend to be with, to care for, to do lovely things together, to support and to be a blessing, always there. That's what's really lovely about marriage. The rest is glitter and glitz, but it's not the stuff that really deeply matters. In fact, surprise, surprise to what youth might otherwise imagine. But the real value is true friendship, true fellowship, integrity, reliability, faithfulness, love and kindness, care. Always there. You don't want to do without that at any age. At any age, from the youngest to the oldest. It's not good to be without loving, caring relationships. That's the fact of the matter. Does that mean we have to so prioritize our partner that we're of minimal blessing to others? Oh, I hope not. Don't see why it should. I mean, for safety, perhaps you should always minister together. You know, for the safety of your nuclear relationship, if you like, your relationship directly with them, your partner. Perhaps that's a good idea. Perhaps it is a good idea to wear a wedding ring, whether you're a man or a woman. Doesn't mean you're chained, but it does mean well, you're still prioritizing that relationship to some extent. In this situation, it's a compromise. It's you would like to be a blessing to all, but perhaps that wouldn't achieve very much. One would be spread so thinly in one's care and concern for others. I'm not claiming there is an ideal. I think it's that. I'm not claiming there is an ideal in this world. It's a world of good and bad. And all we can say is that we long for God. We do long for heaven. Death is not a disaster to us. It's a porthole to heaven. It's to be welcomed. No, we don't want to go in a painful, suffering way, of course. That's understandable. But heaven itself is the place to be for eternity, not here. Nor are we trying to change here into heaven. This place is doing us a great blessing. It's bringing us to life eternal. It's not life eternal in itself. It's bringing us to it. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.